Okay, now Renita, we got to make some stuff make sense because it's been a lot of foolery going on in the past week since we last talked. So now, I mean, so much stuff that we really can't even fit it all in. But let's just start with the fact that people is getting fired left
Right.
and right, like left and right, and nobody's safe. Like nobody's job is safe. Not even your federal employers. Is it every federal? Like, who's getting fired?
So no, you're right. Everybody's getting fired is what it feels like because every day we hear the Trump administration is firing more and more federal workers from any agency he can. It feels like any agency he can think of. So it's the CIA, it's folks in the VA, it's all these different agencies. And the reports coming out are that a lot of the folks they're firing are people that they don't even know what these folks did before. They didn't even know what they did
Is that why
within
they
the
sent
federal
the
government.
email to be like, what do you do in the back? I mean, how are you even fire people and you don't even know what they do?
Right.
I mean, I would say that probably has a little bit to do with why like traffic controllers and stuff
Mhm.
that they're getting rid of. And now all of a sudden we're having incidents.
Right, support staff with the FAA, you're right. No, it's insane, and yeah, that email stunt that Elon did to have people email 5 things that they did that was important this week to justify their job did not go over so well.
But were people complying? Like, is this something because you think if this is a directive that's
Mhm.
coming from the office of the president and you're a federal employer, what does the average federal employer feel? Are they feeling like they have to comply, or do people understand the moment and that with a little time, the court is going to say,
Well, to your point, this week the courts came and told the Trump administration that they were not allowed to fire hundreds of probationary federal workers that they were planning on firing. So it's been a mess. You said now make it make sense, but we really can't make sense of it because how you fire people that you actually need and that are critical to make the government run, and then you try to rescind the firing to bring them back to work, but you don't even have their contact information. None of this makes sense.
and well, none of it makes sense, especially like you're saying, firing people you think are disposable that you don't need, you don't even know what they do. And now here we are firing trans people
Mhm.
out of the military, booted out of the military. What is it? Is it an executive order? Is that what he's doing? Is that what this is?
So the Trump administration sent a memo to the Pentagon
A
saying that,
memo,
yes, saying
a
that they,
iOS press release.
I mean, usually we just get a tweet from him in the middle of the night. So a memo is a step up from a tweet.
That is true. Okay, so and then there's this order, and I've seen a lot of friends,
Mhm,
trans people who are saying, I just got the notification that I've got
mhm.
30 days and I'm being
Right.
processed out.
We're laughing about it, but it's actually not funny because it goes to your point. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know what actually has happened, the Trump administration told the Pentagon they have 30 days to identify everybody who is transgender and currently serving in the military. And they have to remove those folks from the military unless they can get an exemption. In order to get an exemption, somebody within the Pentagon would have to make a case as to why this person who is serving is so important for war fighting capabilities that they need to remain. So, really, it is just targeting and attacking trans folks who are proudly serving in the military, who have not had any disciplinary actions, or there's no other reason to be kicking them out of the military except for the fact that they are trans.
Not to mention, I mean, it's a struggle because I don't know too many people these days wanting to just volunteer to, volunteer their body to the military, especially knowing that sometimes we are starting a war that should never happen in the first place.
Right. And so you're a veteran. What went through your mind when you decided to enlist?
Child, I don't know what the heck was going through my mind when I decided to enlist, to be honest, because like I went to the physical examination with curly blonde hair. I would think I had green contacts in. Pretty sure my toenails was still painted pink, and I was trying to pass, for straight. But to be honest, what I think what was going through my mind at that time, I was not even 18.
Oh, wow.
I was 17 years old.
Wow.
I had left home from Racine, Wisconsin, and I wanted to be an actor in New York. And I naively thought that moving to Rochester, New York was close enough. to go to
Mhm.
auditions, and that was like 6 hours away. But I was just felt like I was just being a disappointment to my family. They wanted me to go to college. I wasn't in college, but part of the reason why I wasn't there, I wanted to study music. They wanted me to study business. I didn't want to feel like I was wasting their money when I come from a family who is trying to scrape things together, and they basically tell us we ain't got the money for you to waste. So, I wanted to go to school, but I knew my family just couldn't afford for me to figure it out. So I figured maybe if I went to the military, not only could I get my education paid for, but maybe it would make me straight. I thought that it would turn me straight and toughen me up. But, all it did honestly was make me more convicted in who I was and knowing that I am going to be me to the grave.
Right. And so, to your point, I mean, a lot of folks are enlisting in the military who feel like they are being presented with two choices: either go to college or go to the military, or you have to find something to do.
Stripping, something,
Something to do.
selling drugs, something.
Something. And
Mhm.
so they are already, in the military and they are serving, and now they are just being targeted for no other reason and being kicked out of the military. And so, this whole thing is really insane. When you look at the language around what the directives are, it talks about if a trans person is given an exemption to stay, they have to demonstrate 36 months of being showing that they are stable in their sex, and also that they have never tried to transition to another gender. I mean, it's just like at the end of the day, all this is garbage. They are trying to forcibly kick trans folks out of the
That's all
military.
it is.
I doubt that you'll see any
It don't make no
exemptions.
sense.
It doesn't make
We ain't no
sense.
making that make
You can't make
sense.
it
We
make
can't make that
sense.
make sense because it just is a continuation
Hmm.
of trying to remove trans people from everyday life,
Right.
from sports,
Hmm.
from public accommodations of using a public restroom,
Hmm.
from us having protection on a job, having protections in schools. They're just trying to make it a scary place for us to be ourselves.
Hmm.
And they are also welcoming the rhetoric about trans people that is violent in and of itself.
Well, and the thing that gets me about it is the fact that, folks continue to vote for politicians like Donald Trump and continue to vote for conservatives who it seems like they have a laser focus on trans folks. It's like all this that they are doing to target trans folks. How does that make it easier for anybody in the general public to pay their bills? How does that make it easier for you to raise your family? How does that make your life easier? Like, what is it that folks expect? You think that all of a sudden, if Trump accomplishes all of whatever he's trying to do, to attack trans folks, you expect that you'll just see less trans folks walking down the street? First of all, you don't even know who's trans. So it's just like a lot of this is you have to ask
I
yourself,
mean,
what
well,
is the point?
well, speaking of, you don't even know who's trans. I don't know if you saw it, but there was a video that someone posted on like Reels, one of the social media things, and it was a guy who was trying to get with a girl, and she invited him to church and everything, and he's like going along with all of this stuff. But she was like, "Well, I gotta, come up front and tell you something." And he goes, "Wait, what? You're not a man, are you?" She's like, "No, I'm celibate." And it's like, first of all, how did I get in this?
Right.
Like, y'all are so obsessed with trans people.
Obsessed.
We even get in this conversation. And then when I'm saying, I end up commenting on the situation because people were just automatically just laughing off the bat. And this is why you can't trust allies.
Hmm.
Because they're sitting there laughing and nobody knows to stop the joke. And I commented in the thing saying, gotta love the casual transphobia. And first, people didn't get what do you mean? And then when they listened back again, they were like, damn, I can't even believe I, first of all, missed that. But secondly, throw the whole video away. The whole video not funny because why is it that men think that manipulating women and trying to present yourself as something you're not, only to have sex with them, is manipulation? It's actually predatory. It's a lot of different things, but it's like it's at the end of the day, it's not funny.
Hmm.
uh it's not funny because the joke is going to end up on you, not just trans people. So people laughing along with the Dave Chappelle jokes about trans people, you might be the one that they stop at the bathroom. Just like they stopped a cisgender woman recently, I think in Texas, at the bathroom.
That's what always happens. I mean, people have to realize that there is no way to attack one community within our society without it affecting everybody else.
I know that a lot of people in my community specifically are really scared. They're
Mhm.
really afraid because um, if it's not one thing, it's another. It's one thing after another. One, we started to deal with the fact that our passports and our
Mhm.
documents are being basically seized at this point and in question of if they will even renew it. And if they do renew it, they might even put a gender marker that puts your safety in question. And now people who are serving the military, they're not no longer able to be there as well.
Right. And so, I mean, the question that folks need to really ask themselves is, did you elect somebody so that they could spend all their time attacking trans folks? What does that do for your life? What does that do for your well being? How does that make it easier to live in the country?
Q
That's the
Gabrielle
question.
Union. Q Gabrielle Union. Do you feel any smarter?
And do you
Is
want
your
to keep
bank account any bigger?
do you want to keep voting for people who spend all of their time laser focused on trans folks? Because that's what conservatives have been doing, and it's not new. This is something that has been a drumbeat that's been going for several years. They're always coming up with ways to stoke cultural wars.
But my question is, they sure, but how is it that people who are not a part of MAGA
Mhm.
still keep getting seduced to be anti-trans, to be anti-black, to be pro-police? Because there's a situation. This is what frustrates me the most is now that Trump has at his will our powerful military, but the fact that the road was paved for him. People are talking about the fact that what are you going to do when they put the military on our children protesting at the schools? And I'm like, were you not watching the past year
Right.
when Biden was president?
Hmm.
And they unleashed and shot, I remember, rubber bullets, and people
Hmm.
were going to hospitals. I thought to myself, I don't have an ovary in my body.
Hmm.
And but if I had a child, I would be up there in rollers.
Absolutely. No, the this has been a ongoing thing of attacking dissent, and definitely the Biden administration did a lot of things to make it really tough for people's voices to be heard. And the Trump administration now has all of this power
They have
and
precedence.
precedents. They have processes that have been built in a bipartisan fashion to attack dissent. And it's really unfortunate because right now the main thing that we need to be doing is dissenting and
Main
not
thing.
going along with this. So the State of the Union last night, I didn't watch it because I was boycotting it.
I lasted about 5 minutes. I lasted just about as long as Al Green lasted. And matter of fact, I didn't even know it was two Al Greens until last night. I know some of y'all didn't know either, so don't even come for me like that. But the fact that he showed more
Mhm.
resilience and
He
power
did.
standing up because Medicaid probably actually affects him. And not to mention the people who are going to be there to protect us, they're sitting there holding signs. Now listen, I understand that that's decorum or whatever, but
Mhm.
what the hell do we do with decorum when they bring in what they bring into the table? When they bring in they're bringing it's I don't want to use weapons as the sort of the metaphor, but it's just we're not fighting the same game. And so I feel the moment Al Green walked out, they should have been in a line walking out right with him. The
Absolutely.
fact that he just thought he could shame them, talking about you not gonna clap for anything that I would do. What is there to clap for?
Right. No, you're preaching to the choir. Serving in the Georgia House of Representatives for 6 years, I definitely faced similar things to, anytime that I would do anything, for example, I put my body on the line trying to filibuster the bill to outlaw abortion in Georgia. And it was only Democrats who were asking me to sit down because they were afraid that I was breaking decorum. Because I was breaking decorum because we cannot continue to go business as usual. So I applaud Representative Al Green for standing up last night. Democrats should have been with him. And the issue, let's just talk about the issue of as to why he was willing to break decorum. The issue of potential cuts to Medicaid. This is so important. I cannot tell you. Cutting Medicaid will affect everyone. Let me say that
How?
again. This is how. So even if you are not on Medicaid, what most people don't realize is that the local hospitals that you see, they really depend on Medicaid to stay open,
To
to
pay the
keep their
bills,
doors open.
right?
Right. So let me ask you, what would happen if the nearest hospital was an hour away from you? Think about that. If a person has a heart attack or gets in a car accident, the amount of time it takes to get to the hospital can either be life ending or life saving.
And that Uber might not get there that fast because in this economy, we taking an Uber to the hospital.
So yeah, I mean, he was really standing up for this because people need to understand that a lot of the things that the Trump administration is doing, it's not just attacking one community. It's attacking everyone. And this Medicaid issue is that serious because even if you are not on Medicaid, everyone needs a hospital that is close distance to them so that when an emergency happens, they can get the care that they need. And so here's the other thing. Trump is saying this week that he's not going to touch Medicaid, but that is a lie. The number of cuts that they have said they need to make to the budget in order to provide these tax cuts for the rich, you would have to gut Medicaid to do that. There's no way you
Mm.
could create a budget that doesn't cut Medicaid. And so that's why
So
Representative
he
Al
lying to
Green,
somebody. We just don't know who he lying to.
I bet my money that he is lying to the public because that has been his track record.
That is that because I feel like his buddies would hold him accountable if he doesn't follow through with these tax cuts.
Well, we saw how he got elected. I mean, first, he didn't really care for Elon. I think he was talking crap about electric vehicles, all types of stuff. Then, as soon as Elon started majorly funding his campaign, Elon was his best buddy. So, I mean, you ask yourself, like, who do you think that he would lie to if it meant if the choice was between his super rich friends who have funded his campaign and billionaires versus the general public who's already voted for him and at this point can't take those votes back?
America, you in danger, girl. Listen, there's a lot more that I wanted to cover this week, but we'll save it because there's just a lot of show to get through today. We could not make it all make sense. I don't think we are going to be able to make everything make sense because some of it just ain't going to make sense. But we tried.
We tried.
Thank you so
We
much
tried.
for breaking through that with me, Renita.
Of
We will
course.
be right back.